Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by X-Man.
Hey, everybody.
And Stoney.
Hello.
How's it going?
Doing good. How are y'all doing today?
Awesome.
It's
Seems like I haven't seen you forever.
It's right. It's finally getting cold in our neck of the woods, and I'm loving it because I don't want to harbor too long on the weather, but like we had a really hot Christmas around here, and I was like, please, I just want some cold weather.
I actually posted on social media. I was like, okay, if you're going to dole out an 80-degree Christmas, then I'm pulling out my grill and we're making burgers. And that's what we had. We had grilled burgers for Christmas dinner.
I lived in Aspen a few years ago, and it was -11, and I came home on Christmas Eve. I flew home on Christmas Eve, and it was -11 there. And I got in a plane here in our town, got off the plane, it was 85 degrees.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Christmas Eve. I'm like, wait, what the hell?
Please.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
Okay, so what is our big question of the day?
The question today is, what would you or should you not pinch pennies on? What should you not skimp on?
Oh, well, this time of year, I don't know. That's kind of hard because we all right? I mean,
but there's some things you shouldn't pinch pennies on, no matter if you got money or not.
Yeah, so you've only got pennies now. So now what are you not going to pinch them?
I'm not pinching pennies on toilet paper.
Toilet paper is a very good one. Thank you.
I'm spending top dollar on my toilet paper.
Right.
I'm down for that. Yeah, I don't want any. I don't want any cheap toilet paper either.
Mm-hmm. You only break through once, and then it's a no.
And
you're not going back anymore.
No bueno.
Yeah, right.
No bueno.
I'll be honest, man. I've had better camping bathroom experiences than some guest experiences in people's homes because they pinch pennies on
their
tell
TP.
Us
who those people were?
No. But all I want to say is they were super cheap.
Oh wow!
Yikes! Yeah, I feel the same way with that. There's I forgot who it was. There's a comedian or somebody somewhere who said that, and I know someone in the comments is probably shouting at me, but it's like, we can be in a really bad spot financially. We can have no money. We can be scrounging for food, but we'll always have good toilet paper. We will always. Right. I always want to have that one thing in life that I can guarantee on.
I feel so shallow with this question because I mean, my the things that come to mind for me are, for one thing, I'm sorry, it's just because it's an everyday thing like toilet paper, and that's coffee. I mean,
oh man, don't even get me started,
bro. I cannot have. I actually threw a cup of coffee in the grass this morning because I was like, I can't taste. I can't drink this, and so it was coffee at the office that I dug out. It was a K cup in the office, and I've never used that new machine, and that coffee was so crappy. I was like, I just can't drink it. I can't stand this. So
you want to know one way to really hurt my feelings and offend me is if I make coffee and someone's like, this is nasty, and throws it out. I would be like, oh no, because I pride myself in being able to make pretty decent coffee at least.
Let me tell you make an amazing cup of coffee, which is one of the things that keeps me coming back to this podcast. Right. Because we get spoiled that Ian's good coffee.
I'm glad to hear
that and the occasional adult beverage.
Yeah, exactly. Hey. Well, he's known to whip out a good one of those too. Yeah. But yeah, I can't have.
I will say coffee. This for a future sponsorship. Blue Label, you are the best.
Yeah, Johnny Walker. If Johnny Walker's
Blue
listening,
Label, you are the best.
Well, this is an agreement between all of us.
If you would like for us to do a package opening, we can do it on the air. But we'll be glad to do it for you. You know.
You can count them.
But the big thing I'm hearing here is samples. We want samples. Is the big thing.
Send us your swag packages.
Swag case. Right, please. Yes.
The Blue Label would be awesome.
So a funny story with this came up for me. I had a music mentor that taught me a lot of stuff about I already had a pretty good understanding of music, and then he really kind of opened it up for me in certain capacities. When I moved from like guitar to bass, he really taught me. He was like a really phenomenal piano player, or he still is, and he showed me a lot of tricks and tips as far as like music. And so he was been like I like looked up to him in a lot of ways. And one thing he told me when we were working at when we were working together, and it came to like buying equipment, he told me, buy it nice or buy it twice.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, you don't have to go and splurge. He's like, there's like usually like a criteria. He's like, there's like bargain, basic, discount items. There's like a middle tier that is like pretty big as far as like how much money you can spend on something, whether it be like decent to like great equipment. And then there's always like the top tier, like the gold trim, which is like doesn't really make the object better, but just makes it the perceived value better. And he's like, live in that space of like this kind of like upper limit of like, don't be afraid, at least in the music like business. If you're going to buy something, a lot of times if it's a little extra expensive, but it looks like it's the same product, a lot of times it's either going to last longer or you're going to like the outcome of it better.
Yeah.
And I have practiced that many times where I'm like, I just will buy the cheap one, and either like it breaks within a couple months or it's not quite what I'm looking for, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, there's nothing worse when you buy something that's off brand and then and then it's toast and like
especially like a tech item.
Yeah, right.
Where it's like where it may be already kind of expensive, but if it's already like a little extra expensive, you're like, oh, I can buy the little bit cheaper one. It's still kind of pricey, but then it breaks on you. You're like, oh man, now no one's gonna fix it. I mean, they can, but it's gonna be. I should just go buy a new one at that point. So it's like, you know.
Well, and then a lot of times what I find on stuff like that is that on tech stuff especially is then, you know, the same crappy product you get is usually tied straight to their customer service support, you know, for that as well. So, you know, it's better to go with somebody that you know has a good reputation and that kind of thing. Because I think that premise really applies to a lot of things. Like one of the things, and it's, you know, for me is clothes. I feel the same way about those. You know, some
I was
clothes
gonna say
just
shoes.
last.
Shoes, man. You go get you a cheap pair of shoes.
Oh, that's a good one.
And you walk in them for an hour, and you're like, holy crap! My back, my neck, my knees, my, you know, really,
please,
you know. And man, that's one of the things with Hottie Doctor. You know, she likes to spend money on shoes. She likes, and she's kind of hit me to some new shoe brands that I really hadn't considered.
Nice.
Because I was just the Italian leather, which are nice, but there's some nice shoe companies out there.
So if like music equipment and like electronics and camera stuff is my one, another one is a good pair of boots.
Yeah.
I don't skimp out. I like to wear boots, and not like work boots. They're kind of more like dressy looking boots, but I will always usually spend a little bit extra money on like some really nice ones.
There's a difference between Lucchese and Ropers.
Walmart brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
For sure. But you know, I think another thing, you know, that I would probably splurge and spend a little bit more money on would be things that, you know, that involve my daily life. You know, so a car, for instance, like I would rather have a good, reliable car that runs. I don't even care what it looks like necessarily, but you know, and that's why, you know, I always recommend, especially, you know, I grew up with a mom and two sisters. And so, you know, without that male presence and leadership in our home, you know, kind of helping along with that, you know, a lot of times they weren't real up on like cars and things like that because they just weren't their interests. But I, you know, I've always kind of thought that that's an important thing. Like,
and that was like
what you drive.
Yeah. Mallory kind of had like a very similar situation. Like she was raised by her grandparents, and so they were never really big on like getting new clothes a whole lot. And so a lot of times she got like hand-me-downs, or she got other, you know, nicer stuff. And so whenever she really got on her own, that was the one thing that she like would just have an obscene amount of. It's just like, I don't even know if I like it. I just want it. Right. Because she has the money and the freedom to kind of just do that.
I want to touch back on what you said, X-Man. You know, like I'm one of the old school people. I would rather spend a little bit extra money on a car and Hottie Doctor drive it. I don't want to have to worry about her breaking down. I'll drive the POS.
Right.
Break down because, I got Wheel Star and things like that.
Right.
And, but I'd rather spend the money, make sure she's got a great vehicle that we don't have to worry about breaking down. She can do what she needs to do and stay safe. Right. And, I'll just deal with it.
For sure. And that is, and that's the other thing is like, I'd probably be more apt to spend money on things that involved my wife's happiness or my children's happiness. I tend to be more generous, and especially at Christmas time, there were several decisions that we made at Christmas time where it's like, we should buy this one, even though there were cheaper kinds, right. Because of that. But I'll tell you, I think that has a lot to do, with reputation too. Like I think a lot of our companies get good reputations, and they did that because they're worth the money. That happened because they're actually worth it. Now, not in every case, but in most cases,
right. And then I think on the adverse of that as well is sometimes I think that there are certain brands, and I have a few in mind, that I think are a little too overpriced for what they're worth.
Oh yeah.
I think there are things that are equivalent value that I have tested myself that I think are better in my opinion, but again, because you're buying the logo, because you're buying the brand.
And that happens a lot.
Exactly. And again,
iPhone is one example.
Yeah.
iPhone is not superior in any way to
a
Samsung phone.
Well, it's no longer considered an iPhone anymore. It's just I think it's just
but people will buy that knowing it's an inferior product because of the branding. Yeah. Okay, let's take the name off of it. Let's just call it the branding of that phone.
Well, they did. They on the newest iPhone, it's no longer at the bottom says Apple iPhone. It just has the Apple logo, and that's it.
Yeah. But people will buy that because of the name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And knowing the other phone's superior. Yeah. They'll catch up and then they'll fall way behind. Yeah. And then they'll catch up and they'll fall way behind. Right. And, I go for what I can get when it comes to electronics. I want the best phone, the best TV. I'll spend that extra money.
Right.
Because I don't want to have to keep catching up.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So a couple of things too that I wanted to bring up are more experiential type things. Right. And so one of the things that I would splurge a little and pay a little extra for is a good room in a hotel.
Yes. Absolutely.
Do not give me a flea, a flea infested, bed bug hotel. I cannot. I get to weebie-jeebie out, man.
Let me tell you something. When Hottie Doctor and I went to Las Vegas,
right,
we had it planned out. We all knew. We talked. We knew we were going.
Yeah,
and we let everybody know we were going. Everybody thought we was getting married. As soon as we could find a Elvis impersonator to marry us, we was going to do it.
Right.
But we got to the hotel. We don't have one for you. Oh, no. We made a reservation.
That would be a nightmare.
It won't be ready for another 8 hours. Well, Hottie Doctor's a pit bull.
Okay.
So she attacked.
Nice.
And we spent a little bit more money, but we got this amazing suite.
Oh, yeah.
With this amazing view.
Yes.
And it was like this luxury apartment instead of a hotel.
Yep.
It was amazing.
That's awesome.
And we stayed at the Palazzo at the Venetian. Yes, you're welcome to sponsor us. Right. It was the most amazing room.
The Venetian's a beautiful hotel. That's such a classy hotel.
I never understood. I never really had been in a lot of hotels in my life because I never really traveled in that aspect before until my best friend and I went on a trip for my birthday. Went to Memphis, and it was wonderful. And we had an Airbnb at first, but I got some things mixed up with the dates and stuff, so we had to go find another hotel. Mm-hmm. And so it was really quick. We just walked in there, was like, hey, we'll take basically whatever has 2 beds in it that, and we didn't realize this. And I in that hotel, I'm not sure if all hotels are this way, the ground floor was really cheap, especially the side that we were on. And I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, this is a steal. No big deal. And it was a ground floor apartment, and our window opened up to a
trash can,
a brick wall, an alley.
No. It was our window opened up to a busy downtown street.
Oh,
so it had and it was a heavy like foot traffic area. So we'd open our window and it was just like people walking everywhere. And I was like, this is a little awkward. And we closed the window because I was like, I don't want people.
My luck, it'd have been the garbage can and everybody sliding the door closed all night.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It was hilarious though. It definitely something we laugh about now, but I was like, I understand now why higher floors, so you'll probably get a better view and
let me on that same thread. I went down to Corpus Christi to the beach, and I thought, I don't need to make a reservation. When I get there, I'll just find a place.
Nope.
You know, it was just me, so I didn't care. You know, so I get there. Well, they have like the Jeep convention in town.
No.
So all of the people with Jeeps all over America, like, are in Corpus Christi with their
rallying.
Jeeps. Right, and so I get there, and so the place I ended up staying that night, you want to know what their amenity was? Bulletproof windows.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Wow, you spared no expense.
Well, the good thing is I felt safe.
Yeah,
right.
But when you have to lay down a layer of cardboard,
oh please no,
before you want to sleep in the room.
Yikes!
I mean, I would rather spend the night in my car than to sleep in some places. I'm just not going to do it.
It'd probably be worth the experience.
Somebody told me years ago,
wow.
I don't know, it was the mid 80s or something. They said there's 3 things you should never, ever, ever pinch pennies on.
Okay.
And that's toilet paper, cheese, and brake pads.
Why cheese? What's the...
well, you get good cheese and you get that imitation crap.
I guess you're right.
I mean, that's the difference between the cheese doing what it's supposed to do and the cheese doing the opposite of what it's supposed to do.
I love it. That's wonderful.
I mean, you know, think about it. You know, underwear. Something really basic. Do you really want to go get a cheap pair, or do you want to get a nice pair of underwear?
Right.
Socks.
With jeans, I'm the same kind of way too.
Yeah.
I've realized in the past few years, like I bought some like pretty cheap jeans that like they fit okay, but that's about it. They fit okay.
In the long run, does a couple of dollars that's going to make you feel a lot better?
Right.
Is it not worth it?
Yeah. I like all my bits and pieces to feel good all day.
And then he also likes to, you know, have his stuff covered too. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
I don't like to have that scratchy material against my skin, my supple skin.
Oh, Jesus.
You want to talk about sound like a diva? That was
true. I told you, clothes was mine.
Right.
I told you. I was honest.
I mean, you're right.
He did say that. That's
you're right. I always thought it was interesting, and I had a conversation with a friend a while back about like how does a brand become iconic? Like talking about like, again, you can say like for instance, there's like tissues that you use, and then but people just call them Kleenex. But that's like a brand name. Like, so how does a company get to a point where they can like
they just overtake?
Well, it's like Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
you walk into a restaurant. What do you want to drink? Okay, what do you want? I want a Coke. Okay, what kind? A Sprite.
Right. Well, I think that also is part because we live in the South. So like I think that's a big thing. Yeah. But you're right though. It's the same. What's another one that I was trying to think of that was very akin to that? That's like
the iPhone pretty much did that too.
I mean, you're right. Band-Aid.
Oh yeah, Band-Aid.
It's like a bandage, but Band-Aid is a brand, and like that was the one I was thinking of. I was like, how do you get to a point where like you become so ubiquitous that like
you stay there a long time, right? That's all you got to do.
But I think it also comes down to the fact like you have to have like a quality product. Is like you have to have an item that is.
Well, when Coke first came out, it was a quality product. It even had cocaine in it.
Yeah, you talk about quality. But yeah, it's like having a product that I think is like that people are willing to spend a little extra money on in the long run, and then having that for like such a long span of time, to where then everyone it's the norm now.
Yeah.
So,
well, I have also been known to order a top shelf drink at a bar, you know, too.
Alcohol would be another one.
There's a little bit of a thing there, especially certain types of drinks, you know, like, you know, it's one thing you can kind of cheat on a frozen drink a little bit and put house stuff in it. But when you're ordering a straight up, I want something good that's smooth that I like.
Yeah, and then going back a little bit to what you were talking about coffee, is the same way. Is you can mask a lot of flavors with creamer, but also with temperature.
Yeah,
that's why a lot of times like you have like diner coffee or like the gas station coffee is like it tastes fine at the get-go when it's like scalding hot because you can't really taste all the different notes going on. or if there is any present. And so whenever it cools down, like you're getting, once it gets like to lukewarm, you're getting like the real flavor of the coffee, which in the end is not great. So it's like, oh, this is not good coffee. It wasn't to begin with, but you were masking it with the heat.
But if I'm gonna drink something straight and strong,
oh yeah,
like I want it to taste really good. Like there's nothing better than great tequila. To do a really good tequila sipping and that kind of stuff.
Well, that's part of the problem with tequila is everybody thinks that's a shot. Tequila is a sipping drink.
Oh, definitely.
It's not. You can
if it's good.
Wasting it. Yeah, if it's good.
The reason why they shoot it is because they've been shooting
crap. But if you have a great tequila, you want to sit there and sip it
for sure.
It's just that simple. I mean,
any cocktail, but really, I mean, if it's good, you want to savor that thing. It should taste that way at a certain level. That should be.
I'll give you another example, like cigars.
I was just about to say that. Thing. I've never tried cigars, but I was like, that seems like an idea that would be that kind of
the standard used to be a Cuban.
Yeah,
right.
That was the best cigar in the world by none. And when the revolution happened, all the great cigars growers took their seeds and they left Cuba.
Right.
And so, they're left still with some great growers and some seeds and stuff like that. And they're illegal, which is kind of being lifted a little bit. But all those growers went to Venezuela, Nicaragua, different places, even Pennsylvania, and they started taking their seeds because the soil is so important. Now you can get Rocky Patel is just as good as a Cuban any day because he found what he wanted, got his blends right, and it's perfect.
Right.
But you can spend a little money on it.
Of course.
Sounds like all my English ancestors. They did the same thing. They took all their seeds and came over here and No, just kidding. Don't shake your head at me, Stoney. Come on, that was good.
Something wrong with you. Just something wrong with you.
No, I could definitely see where I'd spend a few more bucks on a good cigar because
that's something we need to help him experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And just do a show on that. Try some things and we haven't done and
interesting.
And just try a good cigar.
I've never.
Like it
if we're talking about experience, I've never had. I'm a pretty big whiskey drinker, and I like whiskey and bourbon and Scotch of all varieties. But I've never really tried my hand at like different tequilas. You guys were talking about it, and I was like, I don't think I've ever actually had like tequila that wasn't probably mixed in something before.
Yeah. So how do you feel about firearms? Would you spend a few more bucks on the right firearm
and ammo?
So talk about that a little bit. We're in the gun-toting South, so let's talk about it.
We're in the yeehaw South.
That's right.
The what?
The yeehaw South. You can walk around with a gun. It's okay.
Well, that's something that is very. People are very passionate about their firearms.
Yeah.
And some people like Glock and nothing else. Some people like Smith & Wesson. Some people like F&N. People just like what they want, and you can spend some money on it. But the sad thing about some firearms is you're buying a name brand that may not be worth the money.
Interesting.
I would rather spend a decent amount of money on a reliable weapon that I know is going to work every single time.
Yeah.
That's what I look for in a weapon.
Yep.
Sometimes I need to spend a little bit more. Sometimes it's just a normal price.
I just wondered about that because Ian and I, we have the same background. Ours are musical instruments and stuff like that. But, and you're
I play music too.
Yeah.
When I shoot, there's a little tune to it.
He makes people dance in a different way.
There's a little tune.
It sounds like this. And it's usually the other guy.
but that's something, ammo too. You can go get some cheap steel ammo and it's going to let you down.
Yeah.
Or you can spend the money on a quality American-made ammunition and it's going to perform the way you want it to.
Yeah. Well, speaking of American-made stuff and probably the South, a regional discussion would be, I will spend a few extra dollars for a good steak. Don't give me that Bonanza bull, I don't want your Golden Corral, no thank you. Like I will, let's ring up Ruth Chris and get a good one. You know what I'm saying? Like a good steak
I can beat Ruth Chris any day.
Well, there's you personally like cooking a steak.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yes.
But good steak there's nothing better than that because you don't really need a knife if it's cooked right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man. Making me hungry talking about all this.
I know. I want a steak now and a nice glass of whiskey.
Man.
And a cigar for dessert
afterwards. That's right.
Ever since my brother started like collecting like whiskeys, I've been able to try all kinds of different stuff. He's really tried. He had the same sort of like mindset that I had a few years back, where it's like, I don't know a whole lot about coffee and I want to learn more. So like I became a barista and then like just kind of learned everything that I could about it. And so like I just like really encompassed myself around all of it and learned so much from all of it. And he's doing the same thing with whiskey. And so now I've kind of been like spoiled because he's brought home some like really nice stuff. He just finished doing the Bourbon Trail all throughout Kentucky, went to all like 16 or 18
that's cool.
distilleries, and he brought back all kinds of fancy stuff. And he brought back, and this is, and again, he justified the purchase in his mind because again, it's his hobby now and he loves it. He found a very expensive scotch that all the people that he talks to and every like big anybody who's anybody ever talks about this scotch, meaning like it's going to be the number one, you have to have it. The problem is, can you find it? Because it's not really everywhere. Wow. And it's called Brooklady. And it's like a $700 bottle of scotch. Dang, and so, and he was like, I want it so bad, but I'm probably not going to buy it.
But you say that, but
then
three of us, what we talk about is experiences.
That
was worth it to him.
Exactly. And then he ended up coming back around and he got it. And he was like, I can't believe I did it, but I have it.
You get a little timeshare where we mama bird it in a circle. And everybody gets a little taste.
And that's the thing is he was saying, he's like, I'm not sure when I'm going to open it. I don't know when. I don't know what's going to go on. It's got to be a pretty big occasion. He's like, but just know that if I die young for some crazy dumb reason, I want you to open this at my funeral. I want everyone to drink it. And he's like, please make use of it while we can. I was like, awesome. You got it. So
yeah. Another thing, and I find this true, like in the few shopping experiences that I actually have, because I cannot stand to shop at a store,
right?
Is ice cream. Like,
really?
They have off so many selections. They have a whole aisle of it. And so you go down that aisle, ice cream and frozen pizza both. I think that I'll spend a little extra to have the good one.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they have this one, like there's, what's the Walmart brand that's like the generic? Oh, Great Value. Great Value. I mean, there is a big difference between Great Value and Bluebell.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So a big, huge difference between that. But that's something else I can think. But what's the really big stuff? What are the big ticket items that you would definitely?
I mean,
tires for my vehicle.
Tires.
You're right. To be honest,
that's $1,000 to $1,500 right there.
Yeah, right.
All the equipment that we're using right now is a prime example of me saving up my money.
Yeah.
And then not like
this is a very nice studio.
Not wanting to wanting to skim out on any of the anything.
We started off right.
We're very well appointed listeners. We're here with some good coffee and some great equipment.
I really tried hard to find all the equipment that I thought was going to be really good quality equipment that isn't going to break on us, and then it could be an investment. If I don't use it now, I could probably resell to somebody later. And these are all very nice microphones and everything else involved with it.
So Ian and I have other work adventures that we do together, and I'm telling you, he's like that. He's like that son that you have with really expensive taste that you're constantly forking over. He's like always looking at Daddy, I need some more money kind of thing, and it's kind of like, oh my God.
I have I do a lot of stuff with cameras and a lot of recording and filming and editing. So you can imagine that all that is, and again, with that same mindset of like, if you want me to be real, we can cut costs here and I can buy a little dinky tripod, but will it last long? I mean,
if I can ever get out of a conversation with this guy for less than $1,000, I'm like, thank God.
Come on.
I have done my work.
My last one wasn't so bad. It was like $300.
Your first one liked to kill me, though. I still remember. I had to get private funding for it.
You want to know? Hey, but look, all that stuff's still running to this day, and it is all quality equipment, and it is all amazing.
I'm not complaining. You're a class act. Let me tell you.
I'm just saying.
So, but yeah, I think.
What's another big one? You asked a question. What's a big one for you?
I mentioned cars, but I would also say that probably a house. Like if I would want the right house, I wouldn't want just anything. I think there are. I think it's the things that you do daily that you really want to invest the most in, because that's what you spend your most time with. Or if it's something that's special, like I definitely would probably pass on cheap cologne.
What about stuff that does not retain value, like a diamond ring? I'm looking at, I'm engaged.
Yeah, right.
You're going to go spend, $15,000, $20,000 on a ring that you couldn't turn around a year later and sell for $5,000.
Right.
But they put that pressure on you. He bought it from Jared. He bought it from here. He's not worth a shit if he doesn't buy it from here.
Yeah.
And to make you spend that extra money, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's something that irritates me.
Yeah, that's true. That is a bit of a racket.
Yeah, come on. What if it doesn't hold its value? It's not worth it.
See, my wife didn't care about that stuff. I actually had a friend. His name is Naved. He's still there. He's at the World Trade Center in Dallas, and he's a good friend of mine. And I had to make her ring.
Oh wow!
Just because I didn't want to. I went to the store and saw like the stuff I could afford. My wife would probably been like,
right. Anything
I had to think about it.
Right. Anything that's decent is like $10,000.
Yeah, right. So, but anyway, you're right.
I'm very lucky. Hottie Doctor likes more of the vintage Art Deco kind of stuff.
Right.
Which can get pricey.
Sure.
But I think there's more value to it because, here it is. It's the value.
It's also niche,
That's what I'm saying. So. Yes, it's so special. That's a great way to put that. It's so specialized that retains part of that value.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but you go buy a diamond ring on a little, a stone on a little bit, it's not going to hold shit for value.
Yeah, right.
Because you go somewhere to get rid of it, and you're not going to get any value for the diamond. You'll get the only scrap value for the gold.
Yeah,
right. So it's not really that worth it unless you can find somebody to buy it back. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of changes the conversation now too. Is like, what do you consider valuable? Like, what is something that I guess would hold not like monetary value, but some sort of like sentimental value, is like stuff that you'd keep around, like things passed down from like your grandparents, something that has no like value, like as far as like money goes.
Can I tell you something sentimental value? Months ago, I won a shotgun in a school raffle.
Wow.
Know, right? But I want a shotgun. And there's a gentleman at my work that at one time was a guard of the Tomb of the
I think, you had told us this story before.
Only Stoney would come up though with like, I won a shotgun at a raffle. I mean, think about that. What kind of raffles do you go to?
Apparently pretty good ones.
So I drove by my friend, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I says, "Oh, I had to run up to the store, the gun store, because I won this, and you got to do the FFL stuff and all that." He says, "Oh, that's pretty cool." I said, "Yeah, I got to go home, and I have to put it together because shotgun guns don't come assembled, because it'd be way too long. So they come with the barrel broken." And he goes, "Oh man," he's a firearms instructor. He said, "Oh, give it to me. I'll take care of it for you." This cat is, career Army.
Right.
For I think 3 years, he was a guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and he's one of the influential people at my work.
Yeah.
That gun has more sentimental value. The fact that he put it together.
Oh, sure.
The gun wasn't an expensive gun.
Right. Yeah.
But when you add the fact that he did that for me, that holds sentimental value now.
Yeah. And you're right, like stuff from family members and stuff like that. I tell you what, I had a bad thing happen at my day job. Yeah. A couple of years ago, an arsonist burnt down my office, and it had some things in there from travels and things from my grandparents and stuff. That none of it was super valuable. The furniture and office fixtures and computer equipment, all of that was way more valuable. But man, as far as those things were the things that crushed my soul because, because it was that losing that stuff was painful.
It's a connection to somebody.
It is. So luckily at home though, I still had some things like I have my grandmother's dolls from when she was a little girl.
Wow.
Oh my.
So, and they look creepy. I mean, they look like,
hey.
it's like Annabelle, you know, like I hope
Right.
that Chucky stuff never comes alive.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they're cool because they have like bonnets and stuff that we don't see anymore, you know, on dolls and stuff. So they're real interesting. And, but anyway, I think stuff like that's, you know, it's hard to put a price tag on it.
The first car that I ever had, was a 2001 Honda CRV, and it was pre-owned, bought it used, and I bought it in cash, and it was the same sort of thing. Like, the car itself wasn't worth anything, or I mean, it was worth something, obviously. It was pretty clean for my first car, but I drove it around and took care of it as best I could, and my dad and I did all the oil changes on it. We would change the tires whenever we could. He and I just... It was an easy car to work on because it was like an early 2000s Honda, so like parts were abundant and not
before
hard.
all the super electronics in them. Yeah.
Exactly, and it also wasn't hard to get into. Like, it wasn't a very compact car, and so I enjoyed it. I changed the headlights on it every now and then whenever I could. Like, I did all the work on it, and I kept it going. And then eventually, that was the car that I took. Here we go for anyone drinking out there. It was the car I took to Canada. And then I drove around. I drove it around while I was in Canada, and there was so many times when it was below freezing, and I didn't have like an engine warming block on it, and so like I would just start the car, and it was like run, and every time it would run, but every time I cranked it, I was like, "This is the last one, baby. Here we go."
Yeah, right. I just need to milk you for one
just,
more.
Sir, please, I need to get to work one more time. But it kept on going, and it between my friends and myself, it coined the name Old Faithful, and it was just because it was always around, and I drove that thing for like 5 or 6 years. And again, like even now, I think I sold it off to my brother to get myself something else. But even now, looking at that car, I'm like, that car has so much sentimental value to me.
I swear, that's true.
Putting so much time and effort in driving it halfway across, or all the way across the country, actually, and then back. It's like I put so many miles in that car.
And Hondas are just like that. I mean, you can put like I had a Honda Odyssey. I think I shot it in the back out behind the barn, like at 287,000 miles. I was like,
you put it down.
Will Starr did that. He shot it. He shot my Honda. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Right.
I'm like, you take it and part it out, bro. I can't do it. I can't even look at it.
There's also a similar thing. I believe I told this story before on the podcast. Is I have an old Squire Stratocaster, which is like it's kind of like a Fender, but it's cheaper and it's not quite as good. It was my beginning guitar. It was my first like electric blue electric guitar I had, and both of my grandmothers came together and spent money and bought that for me.
Right.
And they were not really close to each other. They were actually kind of didn't like each other at all. But they both banded together and spent their hard-earned money on this guitar for me, and it's what started me on this music adventure. And I was like, oh man, that's so nice. I still have it now. I need to get it cleaned up because it's really old. But like I look at it now, I'm like, again, it has no actual value really, but like it has a lot of sentimental value for me in that aspect, and I love that.
Yeah. So this is probably out of all of the categories that we've been talking about.
Right.
So it's probably a different kind of category. But another thing I would spend more money on is tickets. So like concert tickets or sporting event tickets or something.
Right.
Like I want a good seat. If I'm going to spend my time to go see something, I don't want to sit in the very back of the room where I can't see what's happening. Like I want to go. Now there are some, I'm not saying that there are zero experiences that aren't fun to watch from away. Like in Dallas, when I lived there was a venue called Starplex. I'd buy the tickets out in the grass where you throw out a blanket and hang out with friends, and that's fine. But like Broadway, like if you're gonna go somewhere, and I want a good ticket to that experience.
Well, when we went to Vegas, we saw Chris Angel.
Wow.
5 rows back.
See, there's nothing better.
That was awesome.
Wow.
It changes the experience, doesn't it?
Well, we saw Blue Man Group, I don't know, 15 rows back.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was, and we knew, we kind of went into it going, you know, well, we can spend this or we can spend that.
Right.
And we kind of just planned it just right. And we said, well, this is our first trip together.
Yeah.
Let's just do it right. Let's just create this huge ass memory.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was worth every cent.
Yeah. But, like in Texas Stadium, the old Texas Stadium in Dallas, like I didn't want to go to a Cowboy game, which we do once a year, or twice. I didn't want to go sit in the nosebleed section. Like I wanted to sit at least somewhere between the 220-yard lines, and that way you could see the action in the field and all of that better. But it really, I think tickets are a good thing, because that's an experience you're only going to get once in a while, or very rarely. And so I'd spend a few more pennies on that kind of entertainment.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
that's
for
awesome.
sure.
I have a great story about, like, I had bought, it was a musical artist that I enjoy, but I don't think my dad or my brother really cared for, but I bought us all tickets, and it is like single-handedly the story I tell when it comes to like creating an atmosphere for music. And that is one that like I may have spent probably a little extra money on that like I didn't.
Who was it?
It was Yanni. It was
God.
Oh yeah!
What a great thing to go see live.
I mean, right. And again, like I didn't think anybody else was really going to care about it, but I spent the money on it, and I was like really hoping it was going to be a great show. And like I said, every time someone asks me about like music and like emotion in music and like an atmosphere, I always point to that show, because I was in that center section, not in the like in the, what you call it, like the balconies or whatever. I was like in this like elevated. It's a
stadium.
Yeah, it's in a venue in New Orleans. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it, but it is
Sanger.
Yes. Yes. It is on the ground, but it's slightly elevated, so you can see over all the people. It's assigned seats, and I was in that center section, and everyone was like sitting down. And we had already listened to these amazing, talented musicians, and all of their like wonder, and they're all so talented and like locked in. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then like the lights all come down low, and there's these big spotlights on our main man, and it's just him on this huge grand piano, and he has this microphone on a boom arm, and he already has this like booming voice, this low voice that just, I mean, it felt like it filled the whole stadium that we were in. And it wasn't like super big,
right?
But having this moment where like we've already experienced all these emotions in this music, and then to have him like everything go down really low, and then he tells this beautiful story about how much he loved his mom, and how his mom was like his biggest supporter, and how she always made him feel like that he could always like do something bigger than himself, and like make this like beautiful music,
like transcend.
Yeah, exactly, and always encouraged him and loved that. And he was like, and then not too long ago, my mother just passed away, and he was like, and it was really hard. And then you feel this emotion from what he's talking about.
You start feeling for it.
I started feeling for it, and then like no lie, I felt like I was just waiting there on bated breath.
Right.
Because then he's like, and this is the song that like I wrote in her memory, and it's called, I forgot the name of the song, but like this dude plays like two notes on the piano, and I'm just like, right. And I was like, because it just, like I said, we're in this moment, all of us together, and it's these beautiful lights that are like lighting up all around us. And it's just this amazing moment where it just felt like he was talking to me.
Right, yeah.
And it was just this atmosphere. And like I remember the whole show being amazing, but that one moment being like the whole song, there was no words, no lyrics, just him on the piano playing, and like every note felt like he was communicating something to me. And I was like, oh man, like that was one of those moments where like I just weeped in my seat for like it felt like no reason,
and that's
almost.
Something like now you'd probably pay 6 times what you paid to go see it, to have that experience.
There's one for me. I said in the past podcast,
right,
Front Row Phantom of the Opera.
Oh my God,
wow,
that is such a great show.
I'm taking out alone. I'm taking out alone. I don't care. I would love to take Hottie.
The music in that show is so good, and you don't realize how much of it you actually know,
right?
But that's a great show.
But just amazing. I would do that again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Wicked was mine. I had a client up in New York, and she said, "I've got something for you. It's in your room." And I was expecting, a bottle of champagne or wine or something like that. I get in there and it is front row tickets to Wicked. And I'm like, what? And so awesome. It was so amazing. It was so cool. And so I'd taken my niece up there because she had graduated high school. And so as my sister and my niece, and we all had front row tickets to Wicked, and it was unbelievable, incredible.
Well, it's part of the experience. Yeah. You know, when we went to Vegas, we had this awesome, we did the helicopter tour.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Oh, that's so pretty with all the lights.
Yes, amazing. But it was during the day, but we had a great pilot.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're flying and he's pointing out the dam and he's pointing out these little ghost towns and stuff like that. And, you know, we're flying and, you know, just a great experience. And, you know, all of a sudden he pulls back on the stick and he turns the helicopter. I mean, the hardest turn that he could probably do at civilians.
Right.
Now, Hottie Doctor and I are both
like, what?
No, we're pretty smart.
Right.
But the other 3 people in the helicopter about pooped on their pants.
I'm sure, like they're
because he's going, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I almost flew into Area 51 and they'd have shot us down. And in my head, I'm going, you know, we're a couple 100 miles from that.
But
you know,
we're
not going to do
brilliant.
that. But the way he did it, the way he did the experience, you know, and because he was flying us around and saying, oh, you see this little line, this is supposedly where this UFO landed. So he built the story up.
Right. It feels like you're heading there almost.
Yes,
so it didn't feel,
yes.
he's telling a story.
He never mentioned it until that last, oh man, we almost flew into Area 51 and then he shot us down.
Wow.
You know, and the other people are like, oh my God, you know, and you know, Hottie Doctor and I are going, yeah, okay, well, we know we're not going to dispel it for him, but just that experience, you know, and so, you know, we tipped him really well.
Of course, yeah.
Because those other people probably went home and had this crazy story where like, oh my God, we almost got shot down. You know, it's like that kind of stuff. It's like, I love that. That's
excursions like that are probably a good thing to splurge on for sure. If you're going to go have an experience that like a one-off experience that you'll never get to do again,
right?
Pay the price and and do it well. Yeah. Oh, very cool.
That's awesome. What makes a moment like what makes something like that like priceless for you? Where it's like this is like something I can't put the
who I was with when it happened.
Yeah.
Who I was with when it happened.
I think service can really make a big difference, though, like in an experience. If other people are involved, I think their hospitality and their heart for like wanting to please you.
Right.
And like, I think there's something that's very connectional about that. And it's almost a matter of like love and respect and kind of like, you know, even though I may have done this 800 times in the past 2 years, I know that this is your one and only time. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make it special. So I tell you, I've met some amazing characters on vacation that I've thought I would come back here, pay the money to stay here again, spend my time flying here and all the resources just to repeat this because I liked it so much. And I think service is a big one. You know, when you get to the point where you're wanting to ask for someone's section, you know, that's pretty special. I mean, that says something about that person and their care for you. Because I think, you know, and so, you know, and I would spend more on a tip for good service. So that's another one. Good service.
Went to, I think it's Delmonico's. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but that's world famous steak. I mean, it's top. And Hottie Doctor and I gauge a restaurant by 2 things. Their Caesar salad and their tiramisu.
There you go. Nice.
You know, and we're engaged with this server, but the way they came out and he did this Caesar salad was he made it in front of us and he did everything right there.
Wow.
Just that service, just that alone, prep. You know, just, it was amazing.
It's something about going that little bit extra. Because again, I was on the receiving end of that. I tried my best as a barista to try and make, I tried to make this little moment something special for everyone. And I know I couldn't always do that every time, but I tried my hardest to like make this drink as best as I can. Because again, I know that I would want that.
Right.
And again, a lot of times people would always say that. I had this like group of like elderly people that would come in and they would always order like pretty easy drinks. But I think it was just the way that I engaged with them, and it was the way I think I just put that little bit of extra effort into it, that every time they would walk in and they saw me, it would just light them up. And they would just like, they would come alive, and they were just like, this is such a, like, we love when we see you making the drinks because we're like, we just know it's going to be like top notch.
Right.
We know it's going to be amazing.
There's trust.
Right. And I was like, and that made me feel good too, because I was like, I just like you appreciate having someone going that extra step and doing a little extra for you. I appreciated someone noticing that and saying like, I appreciate your hard work and you're doing that little bit extra because I enjoy it.
Right.
So that was like,
well, it makes you want to give that to others,
exactly.
more often. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good. Service is definitely one that I would say.
Maybe we should do a show on customer service.
No.
Go back to episode. Was
having a little bit of deja vu here for a second.
Yeah. We've already had that great idea.
Right. But to go with what you're saying, for me, it's the same sort of thing. Like it depends on like the people who I'm around a lot of times.
We're all very private.
Yeah.
Doing the podcast.
Yeah. Except for that.
Hello. Yeah. But we're all
we're working on it.
And it's just who I keep around me.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I have friends 30 years and plus.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and that's before you were born, isn't it,
Yeah,
millennial?
it is. You're right. Correct.
And I keep quality around me. I like quality things.
Right.
I keep quality around me.
Yep.
I'll spend my money on quality things.
Yep.
And that's just how I'm built.
Yep. I would venture to say on a more practical level, medical care would be something I'd spend a few more bucks on if I thought, you know, because I think that's also kind of in the service genre, and it's also in the practice genre of continuing education and those kinds of things. I think it's very important to go to people that you feel like you can trust in those situations. Now, if you're in a death, you know, a near death experience, you probably aren't going to be real choosy about your medical care. But I will tell you this: if for some reason I was diagnosed with cancer or something like that, I'm going to go to the best cancer treatment center I can find.
Of
right.
course.
You know, like, so there's some things that I would probably venture to say I would do some due diligence on, in that area. You know, I wouldn't want my wife to go, you know, to the doc in a box to have our baby or anything, you know, like I'm going to seek out the best care.
Right.
You know, we've talked to X-Man a little bit about, you know, you don't like shopping, but your wife is a pro at it.
She's amazing.
You know, I don't know about you, Ian, if you like to shop. I know you like to shop for liquor sometimes.
Right.
I cannot stand to shop.
Really?
But we've talked about, you know, what do we not want to pinch our pennies on? But I got to give props to Hottie Doctor, because that woman can find a deal.
There you go.
If you need something, you just tell her what it is, and she's going to give you 4 or 5 options.
Yeah.
And she is frugal. And she can find a deal on anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My wife's the same way. You know what? Our ladies we're lucky because they're both like, my lady will come in sporting, you know, John Mark or something. And she's like, I got this designer blouse and isn't it beautiful? And I'm like, you know, how much did that cost? And she's like, $7 at the vintage store.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, seriously, cool.
Wow,
awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I don't, you know, I agree. And my wife buys a lot of good quality things secondhand, like estate sales and auctions and things like that.
Yes.
And so I could tell you almost probably 80 or 90% of our furniture is stuff that was purchased where people paid the sticker price and now we're enjoying the benefit of the quality. Right.
Before the flood, Hottie Doctor, you know, they lost everything in the flood, and she had this amazing, you know, coffee table and end table and stuff, and lost it in the flood. And she really regretted ever having to get rid of that. She come running up to me the other day. What are you doing? We need to go somewhere. We got to run somewhere. And I'm like, what, baby?
Yeah.
She found it all. And this was like a $multi-thousand setup.
Yeah.
She found it for $200.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
In almost perfect condition.
Yep.
Exactly. And it just made her so freaking happy.
This is where our women totally meet eye to eye. You know, this is the kind of lunch conversation those two would have.
Right.
My wife went to another city about an hour away last night. To get a table that had the plumber's pipe legs, kind of the industrial look,
right?
And so that stuff, the pipe alone for the legs would cost. I think if you got it in a magazine, you know, $400 or $500,
right?
Just pay $25.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so. I agree. I mean, both of them do that.
So there's an opportunity to spend a little bit more money, but then an opportunity also, let's find a deal.
And to save it,
Yeah, and save some money too.
Yeah.
And still get what you want.
Yeah. So yeah, doing a little homework can still afford you to have nice things without having to pay the extra price on some things, for sure.
Sometimes, yeah.
So, and I do want to add one more thing to that, that I would spend money on. In the age of technology, I have a pad, I have on my phone, I have Kindle, I have things like that. And I buy some books on there, but there are some books that I just want the hardcover. I want to be able to sit there with a nice glass, a cigar, and read a good book. Book. I want to turn the pages. I want to smell the paper. And that's something else I would spend money on too.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm going to throw something out there and you guys tell me if you would spend extra money on it.
Okay.
Education.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it depends how. Because
I know we're talking college. Are we talking trade? Like what?
Or military school for Magnus,
right?
You hear that, boy? I'm kidding.
Boarding school, boy.
No, but it's I believe that. I believe that finding like again, it's hard for me to. I'm not usually a big fan of college. That's just me though, because of my experiences in life. I'm not saying that doesn't work for everybody. I'm not saying no one should go, but I do think that you can find other alternatives to like some really good education programs, and it probably will cost you a little bit, but I think in the long run, I think bettering yourself is always great and always better.
With my work, I want to be a leader among leaders, and there's a lot of leaders where I work, deservedly so. And I wanted to go back to school, and I was thinking, I'd go to the local college here, and do some online stuff for the local college, down the road a little bit. And Heidi Doctor said, no, I want you to try something else. And so, I'm like, really? I said, no. She says, I'm do a little research again with the research.
Right here. Let me do some
Googling.
Googling.
Came back the next day and found this Ivy League school for me to go online to.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is still an Ivy League school.
Right.
I haven't been in college or school in 30 years.
Right.
And somehow, thank you, Jesus, I got accepted. There was a trial. It was not easy, and I got accepted.
She slipped him a 50.
Trust me.
She gave him a Benji.
Right. 50 ain't going to do it for this Ivy League school.
Right.
Okay. You couldn't even buy a pen from this Ivy League school for $50.
Right.
But I got in, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I've had to take a little break from the stroke, and I had to send them a letter, and they're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Get better, and we'll pick it up, when it's time.
So I'll tell you, I agree with you because like my undergrad is not from a well-known school. I mean, it's a pretty much, but my master's degree came from a pretty astute school. Not because I had any money, but because I got a fantastic scholarship.
Right.
And so the thing is that I will say is that it also buys you connection.
Yes.
And networking with the right people. So I could go anywhere probably in the country and meet people from that school and brotherhood and sisterhood
and
leverage their connections in order to.
And that's one thing that I can't discredit like college, or at least in that aspect for. And that's not usually my gripes with it. Like that's totally
that's almost as valuable as the actual.
Yes,
exactly.
I think that would be an awesome topic that we need to add to the whiteboard.
Right.
Fraternities and sororities, like
education,
secret societies, like the Skulls.
Yes.
Yeah. How many presidents have gone to one of these colleges? I think it's Yale is the Skulls.
Right.
And it's a secret society, and deals are made on that.
Well, I have no idea about this. So.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious.
Well, I mean, if you think about all of the hospitals and stuff, I mean, those things are generated from relationships that were made at schools, many moons ago, way before any of us were around. And so, it's amazing, the history that of a well developed and well funded program can offer people. But also I think the difference is like at the college that I went to for my master's is like their resources were way different.
Yeah.
You know, like their library was one of the top in the world, and it had collections from all over the world, and you could go and you couldn't check these things out. You could see them.
Yeah.
You could check them out in the room.
Oh, right. Exactly.
You know,
with the little white gloves.
Right.
Right.
And so there's, you know,
I
think that's an important.
That's one thing I'm jealous about with my youngest brother. He's become a paramedic now, which has required him to go to a lot of schooling, and he wants to go all the way and do like doctor stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure quite what he wants to do specifically. Right. I'm not even sure he knows what he wants to do. I just know that's kind of what he's hoping for now. And so to see him go through these different stages, I'm very proud of him as his brother. And I think it's really awesome.
Yeah.
But it also makes me jealous too in some aspect, because again, he's meeting so many people in that field and doing the same thing and working with them. And now he has all these connections. He knows doctors now and people like that. And it's like, that is so cool. And it's like, I want to find a way to get plugged into like a group like that where I can then
build out.
Yeah. And again, going through the hardship of school together really does have a way of banding people together like that sometimes.
You know, and I used to downplay kind of classic training because I grew up poor and just didn't know any better. You know, like why would you do that? Or, oh, you're such a snob or whatever. But there are some benefits to having networks of people, like you were saying. You like to surround yourself with good people and that kind of stuff. So I really think that, you know, it probably is worth the extra expense to pay for, you know, a education and things like that, because you're not just getting the classwork, you're getting a network that's going to carry you throughout your whole life. So
that's awesome. I love that. There's one more story that I have that is another like priceless moment that I spent money on like VIP tickets for, but the experience afterwards was priceless for me. And it was like my like a music group that I loved that I still love, but it was like the group that kind of like molded my like taste in music in certain aspects. I was able to meet them after a show, and to have these people in front of me that were kind and that were just awesome people to talk to was already, you know, worth the money in and of itself.
He has to be talking about Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton.
Exactly. Hands down. But to shake hands with those people and for them to look at me and say, like, and for me to tell them, like, I would love to just play on the same stage that you play on.
Were you intending on telling us who it is, or are you just going to keep beating around the bush?
I'm going to beat around the bush. I don't want to name any names.
Name the name.
No, I don't want to. But
really
to like shake their hands and to say like, I just want to one day potentially just be an opener for you guys. I don't even want to be in the same band, like, because I don't feel like I have that kind of qualifications, but I just want to be able to play around you guys, and like to have the lead singer and other people in the band just like encourage me and just like keep working at it and keep like putting yourself out there and just like really just encourage me all the way around and just be like, and even though I know they just were probably saying this, and it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, for me it did, was they were like, I hope that you can play on the same stage as us one day.
Yeah.
I hope that you can be around us. Like,
you know,
more.
The very best will do that. They're not threatened by greatness. In fact, they embrace it, which is probably why they are where they are.
Right.
And with who they are.
And exactly. And in that moment, like, I was able to go home, and then I just had this moment of like, I can't believe that happened. And like, I that still makes me super excited and super happy just to like really think about that moment of someone, even if they didn't probably mean it, just told me what I really wanted to hear and really encouraged me. And that was enough for me. And even though I spent money on like tickets and somewhat of an experience like that, to have that little extra on top just made that its own thing that was priceless in and of itself that I will never forget. And like,
fun fact, listeners, I'm between Ian and the door, so if he wants to get out, we will find out who this is, and we will let you know in the next podcast.
And so until next, I'm kidding. But honestly, though, if you have Spotify and you listen to us on Spotify, you can go to the podcast page on Spotify, and there is a rating you can give us now. So please give us a little 5-star rating. If you don't see it, you probably have to update the app but trust me, it's there. Or also, obviously, if you're on other podcasting platforms as well, like Apple Podcasts and all those, you can also rate us there as well. If you're also looking for us, you can type in Retrospect Pod on most of the social media sites and you should be able to find us. We also have Linktree/Retrospect Pod and all the other stuff. You know how this goes, guys. Anyways, until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.